And welcome back to the Carpenter Critique. We're on episode 10. Woohoo! 10 episodes! I can't believe we've done 10 episodes. Well, we're all here now. I'm so glad to have you here. I wanted to do something special for number 10, so we're doing a big one. This episode, we are going over The Devil Wears Prada 2. Ba-bam! So this is culture. This is gay culture. We're going over all things gay, all things Devil Wears Prada, fashion. But also I'm just excited to do... I really enjoyed the movie, so I'm just excited to review that as well. Also, I found a great article that goes with it. Lots to dive into. First, anything about me? To update you guys, nothing really, just a few more failed situationships. Don't really have to dive into it. If you don't want to, I might. I might. Because I'm so frustrated. But it's okay. I literally had 3 people on the roster, and then they all just fell. They all just fell off. No one is responding. Why is no one responding? It's probably something to do with me. I find that I'm a pretty fast, I just dive into it. I'm like, okay, here's what I want. Here's what I know, who I am. So let's just lay it out on the table. And I think a lot of people want to ease into a relationship or ease into something more serious, but I don't know, just be you. I mean, it hasn't worked out for me, so I have no advice to give, really. But everyone's like, be yourself, be yourself. Where's the gotten you? Okay. Whatever, it's fine. Anyway, we're going backtracking. Nothing really new is happening for me. I am going on vacation in a week and a half, so I'm going to pre-record a couple episodes. I'm also shooting this on a Friday, so I normally shoot pretty early in the week, and I'm peppy, full of all this fun energy and stuff, and now I'm I'm ready for the weekend, let's go. Please, let's get to the weekend. Oh, I've had meetings all week. But you know what? It's okay. We're almost there. We're almost there. Actually, this is going to release on Monday, so we're just starting. Sorry, everybody. We're just starting the week. All right, so let's just dive in. We are going over The Devil Wears Prada 2 today. Whoop, whoop. Hello. Okay, so it is still currently in theaters, and when this episode drops, it's going to still be in theaters. If you don't want any spoilers for The Devil Wears Prada 2, please stop listening now or just skip ahead to 15 minutes in, because then I'll go over the psychology article. But if you are fine with spoilers or if you've already seen it, let's dive right in. So The Devil Wears Prada 2 is released in 2026, and it follows Andy Sachs once again from The Devil Wears Prada 1 and her return to the Runway magazine. Now it is more than a magazine. Runway is this multimedia corporation, still run by Miranda Priestley, but there are other CEOs involved as well. There's also Stanley Tucci has remained at Runway the entire time. The movie does a really good job of catching us up pretty quickly to where everybody's at. So basically, at the start of the movie, Andy Sachs, our main character, Anne Hathaway, mother, she is fired from her job as a journalist, and she gives the speech. At the same time that she's fired, she wins an award. And so for her award that she won, she gives a speech. And that speech ends up going viral, where she talks about the importance of true journalism and humanity. And then, little do we know, she gets referred to Runway because Runway goes through this media crisis of accidentally partnering with a fast fashion brand. It was a very cool and interesting segue into get them all back together again. I really liked the way Miranda was initially really cold towards Andy, and Andy was really warm. I know a lot of people are gonna say that all the characters changed, but I think it was a really good maturation of each of the 4 main characters. But I'll get into that in a sec. So Andy Sachs then is returning to Runway to help them solve this media crisis. She becomes the features editor, and from there the plot launches, and now Andy Sachs is back with Runway, blah blah blah. It's a very cool relaunch of The Devil Wears Prada. I thought it was perfect. Another thing I really liked was that each character's story really evolved. So Andy Sachs is now a really good journalist and is coming up with different pieces. In the first one, she's trying to find her footing as a 20-something, which is always fun to watch. I think there's a good coming of age, and it's fashion. That's a really good watch. But this time she's a lot more secure in her career, and now she's bringing her career skills to Runway. It did have a lot of nostalgia to it, but also I don't like when they really lean heavy on nostalgia, like in the last Star Wars movie. It's basically all fanfare, and while it's fun and if you're a fan it's great, I really don't want it over nostalgia, especially because this one is a sequel with something to say, which is what I prefer 1000% over a sequel just for fanfare. So I know that's going to be a point of contention online. A lot of people are already pushing back, saying that it's different, it's not the same as the Devil Wears Prada one, and I think that's a good thing. I think there was something really great about the first Devil Wears Prada, that it was all about fashion and the importance of bringing beauty into your life and what the background is behind people making your clothes and people working in clothes and with the fashion industry. And this one was a lot more about protecting humanity from media and technology, which I actually really, really liked. It was a really good perspective, and especially with such a big movie, it was such an important message for such a blockbuster movie. Okay, but anyway, diving more into the plot. So Andy Sachs is now the new features editor. She fails a few times and puts out articles that nobody's really listening to. Miranda Priestley, of course, we get a few bitchy sequences from her. We also get a little mini montage of all new outfits that Anne Hathaway gets to get from Stanley Tucci, so I loved that as well. Except, why were the outfits so bad? Ugh. Like, maybe it's just the wealth gap or something, and that's what rich people are wearing, but I didn't think any of the outfits were really that cute. That was the biggest... Okay, there are a few things that I'm a little bit disappointed with. The clothes has to be number one. What were they wearing the entire time? What was Andy Sachs wearing most of the movie? Especially when she gets this glow up. I liked her fashion before she gets this rich glow up with all the new runway clothes. Or maybe she just picked all the ugly clothes. Oh my gosh, there's one scene where she's like, that dress is so pretty. I need to have it. Stanley Tucci's like, not one stain. Not one, in a gay way. And then Andy Sachs is like, thank you, thank you. And then it cuts to the dress, and it's the ugliest dress I've ever seen. What? It's like this sun dress that's completely rainbow splattered, and I don't know, it could be cute if maybe they styled it differently, but it looks like she's just wearing this Joseph Technicolor blanket. I don't know. When I was watching, I was like, that's the dress that you were fiending for? That's the dress you were foaming at the mouth for? What? It's a grandmother's dress, like a fancy grandmother dress. I don't know. And maybe that's what she wants. That's her style. I don't know. It was just not a good style, in my opinion. All of Anne Hathaway's clothes were so mismatched, not good. There's one that I can remember that I kind of liked, and it's when she's walking with Miranda, but I like Miranda's outfit better anyway, so no one really noticed her. They did bring in a lot of, Simone Ashley was in it as a background character. Caleb Heron was in it kind of as a background character as well. They had some good little cameos. Oh my gosh, but the best one was Lady Gaga's cameo. And Lady Gaga has this beef with Miranda Priestley, I guess, and so it was really fun to see them play off of each other, her and Meryl Streep. Meryl Streep, as you can guess, ate the fuck down. Meryl Streep served mother. She also brought a lot of humanity to Miranda. I think more humanity than the last time. But I know a lot of people are going to not like that. I think that's arguably why the movie is very successful. If Miranda was just a bitch the whole time and just actually the devil, then we would just see her as maybe a brand or an icon, but not quite. I don't know, the movie might feel way more artificial. And because Miranda's so human, I think that's what really brings the story together. And even in the first movie, I mean, sure, she's a bitch throughout the whole entire movie, but we do see her humanness, especially in those smaller scenes. I don't know. I really, really like the way Meryl played her, obviously, but I also really like that they didn't just make her this stone cold bitch again. I'm glad that they invited the humanity back to Miranda and saw her struggle with the cost of being this corporate woman and the cost of being such a big CEO and working person. Someone who values work a lot does come at a price, and I'm glad that they showed that. A lot of people are going to push back on that though because they want bitchy Miranda, and she was still bitchy. There was still definitely times when I was like, oof, that is cold. That is cold, cold, cold. But there's a lot more times in the second movie where Miranda's funny or she's a little soft. She's got a new boyfriend that's a little younger, and I think he really cares for her. And also, it seems like a very natural progression for Miranda Priestley to, especially if she found a husband that truly loved her, then she might soften up a little bit, which I think she did. I mean, she's not fully soft, obviously. She's very, very ice woman still. And some of her speeches, I'm like, ooh, that would kill me if my boss said that to me. But she's significantly softer. So to continue with the plots, I keep getting distracted, but Andy Sachs does end up proving herself to Miranda. And then there's this whole scheme to overtake the company. Basically, the CEO, the old man above Miranda, dies, and it falls to his son. His son is choosing to downsize, and so there's a lot of funny scenes about Miranda trying to be business class as opposed to first class. And there's a lot of funny scenes about her. Oh my gosh, I loved the scene about her asking for a snack on the airplane. Very funny. So with this whole downsizing plot, Emily Blunt's character, who does Emily Blunt play? Emily Blunt character name, Devil Wears Prada. This is going to kill me. Are you serious? Oh, Emily. I was like, it's so close. I'm so close. It's not Emily Blunt, but it's Emily. Yes, because of the Emilys. Okay, so Emily Blunt's character is actually dating this very rich man who ends up putting in an offer to buy Runway, the company. And with that, on the terms that he buys Runway, Emily Blunt will then be the CEO, kicking Miranda out of the top spot. Now, Andy Sachs didn't know this, and Andy Sachs comes up with a plan with Miranda to basically get a new buyer, which is Lucy Liu, looking amazing. I swear Lucy Liu does not age. I have seen her in several things in the last couple of years. She's in this rom-com called Set It Up, and she looks the exact same that she did 20 years ago. Also, Anne Hathaway is beautiful. A lot of the cast just looks so similar. It's insane how similar they look. And the movie, it's almost been 20 years. If not, it has been 20 years. I will say, with the exception of Stanley Tucci, R.I.P. my king. I mean, he's great, but his mouth did not move. It was like, that's my girl, Andy Sachs, that's my girl. And it's like, what are you saying? And he kind of mumbles these words, but it's because he can't move his mouth. If he has a condition, I feel bad. Also, it was like, damn, something got you, and it might be the Botox. Meryl Streep looks, if not better than she did before. I do think her hair could be a little bit more heightened. It's much bigger in the first movie, and it's a little bit flat, and it keeps falling in her face. In this second movie, you know, it's fine. And that's like very nitpicky. Very, very nitpicky. I really, really loved that Emily Blunt stayed with her comedy. There was so many funny points with her and Andy, and I just really enjoyed it. I think they all had a pretty natural continuation of their character. Also, they each went through their own story arc. Andy Sachs went from this young 20-something trying to find her place in New York City to this great journalist, and now she's a journalist for the company in a redemption type of way that she hated and now loves and is fighting to save. Miranda Priestley arguably has softened with her new husband and caring about the magazine. She also really has softened for her coworkers, if not the younger ones, but especially Stanley Tucci. She's a lot less hard on him, a lot less hard on Anne Hathaway's character, a little bit less hard on Emily Blunt's character until Emily Blunt double-crosses her. But I would say Miranda's softer to all of them, and she really does care about her work, and we get to see the cost of the work on her, but also this work that she puts in is phenomenal, and maintaining this stance of what humans can create really can be beautiful, and it should be shown. I really, really enjoyed Miranda Priestley's arc as well. Emily goes on this arc of she meets a nice, very generous husband, very rich husband, and actually goes through a villain story. She really wants her time to shine. She wants to be the CEO, she wants to be on Runway, and she's going to do whatever she can to get it, which is determination. I mean, props for determination. However, she does go about it in the wrong way, and it was interesting to have an actual villain for Devil Wears Prada. In the first one, arguably the friends are the villain. But in this one, it was much more intimate because you can tell that everybody really cared about the work that they were doing. And so, I mean, I hate to say she's the villain, but she really was. She's trying to overtake the company and make it her own. And that's a cool arc to follow as well. And in the end, she does apologize. And we get this really cute scene with her and Andy at the end becoming friends, which is so cute. And I would say Stanley Tucci's character arc actually starts in the first movie and resolves in the second, whereas the other three women, they have separate arcs in the first one and a separate arc in the second movie, whereas Stanley Tucci's arc starts as this young gay boy designing clothes and successful in his company, but not quite as successful as he wants to be. And then through the years, now in the second one, he really gets to shine. I wish they had him shine a bit more, but I think because he can't move his face that much, they maybe wrote it so he had a smaller part. If anything, I wanted more Stanley Tucci, but that's okay. So part of the plot is that Emily Blunt's husband is going to overtake Runway, and he's like, I don't really see the importance of models. I don't see the importance of writers. Eventually, it's all going to be computers. And what we're seeing online, it's just part of the change that society's that's happening in society. We're just going to have computers be shown to us all the time, as opposed to what Runway is now. Which, come to think of it, it is really interesting to see the way that media has changed in the last 20 years. I mean, a magazine, Runway magazine, that was, what was it, 2006, 2007? It was the top job, to work for a magazine. Now no one even buys magazines. It's all about Instagram. It's about creating waves online. Journalism isn't about finding news stories. It's about catching what people want to see. I would say art is very different now. I mean, you want to go and see art shows, but a lot of the art that you see is on your timeline or on Instagram or on Facebook. And you're buying, a lot of people don't even buy art in person now. You're buying it online. It's all completely changed. Though it's important to acknowledge the change and move with the times, I would say it's arguably important to keep up with what's happening. I also think there is this importance that we have to place on humanity and the greatness that humans, how do I phrase this well? What humans can create is very important. And it's impressive. And also art tells a story, and we're able to connect to other people through art and through TV and through movies, but also through paintings and even songs and music. And though computers can step in and do all of this, I think the effort that's put into art and also the empathy that's put into art is irreplaceable. And the movie was trying to say that in the end, because the big company that was going to overtake Runway was saying that all we need is computers. We don't really need the models. We don't really need everything that you're doing right now. And Miranda Priestley was arguing for human created art and human beauty being broadcasted to everyone and what humans can really have the potential to do, which is create beautiful things. So it wasn't even just a good slay Devil Wears Prada 2 movie. I think it also came with something to say, especially about media and beauty. And I really, really liked that. I think they could have pushed it a little further and talked about, I don't know, body positivity, and maybe talked about the humanity that comes to modeling and why having human models is so important. But also, I don't want it to get super preachy, like I'm trying not to be right now. But I don't feel like it was preachy at all. I actually felt like it was a really good, well-done sequel with something important to say. The first one also, that's why it resonates so well, is because the first one does have something important to say. Like, fashion does matter. What you wear defines how you want to present to the world. And I really enjoyed that message. And this message is showing like the humanity is essential to art, which I really, really liked. So in the end, of course, it all works out. And Andy Sachs is still at Runway with Miranda Priestley and Stanley Tucci's character. I would not be surprised if we had a Devil Wears Prada 3, maybe in like 10 years or something. But they definitely left room for it. They did wrap up the story, but I don't think it's over. I think we've got some more room to go. And also, I think if they did a third one, it'd probably be about Miranda retiring. I thought they were hinting at it. I thought they were going to do it with this one, but they didn't, and I'm so happy. I'm so happy she's still there. And also, this filmmaking was still so fresh. You can tell the perspective of the writers has changed, but it's also a really good change. I think it's changed for the good. It's not just this like cunty fashion movie. There was so much more to say about that, which I really liked. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. It deserves the praise. It really, really does. It's a really well done movie. So many people care about this movie. So many people put their time and effort into it. I really, really enjoyed it. Definitely worth a watch. I really want to see it again. So yes, I would definitely give it an 8 out of 10. And without further ado, let's dive into our psychology article. So the article I chose is called Less Awesome Art: How AI Diminishes the Empathic Power of the Arts. This is by Michael W. White and Rebecca Ponce De Leon from the Columbia Business School in New York City, New York. Props to them. I'm going to tag them below. This is such a great article. I really, really enjoyed reading it. It's also very, very new. It was revised in October 10th, 2025, and officially published again in 2026. So, very new article, published in the Journal of Experimental Social Psychology in 2026. So yes, like I said, a very new article. This paper really investigates a deceptively simple but powerful question. Does knowing that art is AI generated reduce its emotional and social impact? And their prediction is that yes, it does. So one thing to keep in mind, this paper doesn't argue that AI changes art. It just changes how art makes us feel and what it does socially. Keep that in mind going forward. It's not like an argument against AI art being produced and the differences between AI art and human art. It's talking about the differences in effects of what human art can do to other human minds versus AI art. So the authors combine two key perspectives. One is the appraisal theories of emotion. So emotions depend on how we interpret our stimulus. So what are we feeling? How do we react to everything happening around us? All of that is emotions. If we believe art comes from a human mind, we attribute intention, effort, and meaning to the piece. Regardless if you think it's ugly, regardless if you don't like it, it still took time and effort to make. We assume that if it's made by a human. AI art disrupts this and completely changes our point of view on art. The philosophy of art is all about human uniqueness. Art has historically been seen as an expression of human experience and a window into a human mind. AI art completely undermines the human creator assumption whenever we see pictures of anything now. Their methodology was actually pretty diverse, so a very strong sample size that they gathered. They have roughly 1,600 participants, which is insane for a psychology study, first of all. That means because there's more people, they get to infer a lot of their conclusions are very valid because they got so many people to come into their experiment. They got participants also from plenty of different sites. It wasn't just this one place they met everyone. So it was a bunch of art museum visitors, online participants, likely through surveys and everything, and also just general community samples. So because they got it through a bunch of different people, they had a diverse sample size is what that's called. And all of those different people create great results, and they're able to infer a lot of different conclusions because normally for psychology, what you need is 30 people to say yes or no. It has to affect 30 people in order to create a positive result. I know this causes this because of this. You need 30 people in your study to be able to create scenarios like that. And they got 1,600. So that's amazing. Props to them. Good for you. The general experimental design is that they would label some art by humans and some art was done by AI. So they would show up different pieces of artwork and different pieces from different creators, and some would be labeled by human and some would be labeled by AI. Some of the pieces were exactly the same as the others, but the way people looked at the pictures and the different art was different because of the different label. Often the same artwork was used and it was only the label that changed. So they were measuring a bunch of different things. One was awe and wonder. So measured via emotional response scales. So people would write how much wonder, awe they had about a piece. And it includes feelings like transcendence and admiration. So how much I really liked it or how much they really admired the work. Their dependent variable was empathy. So a lot of art really does invite us to use our heart and soul to see what's on the page or to see what's in front of us. So emotional connection to the art or to others, perspective taking, and pro-social feelings of empathy were measured as well in the study. Their stimuli, of course, was the visual art and literary art, so written passages as well as pictures and paintings. This shows that the effect generalizes across different media forms, not just pictures. What their findings was that AI attributed, when the pictures were labeled as AI, participants believed that they were significantly less in awe or in wonder. Even when the artwork itself didn't change, when participants believed the art was AI generated, they reported to seem to feel less empathy and also significantly less awe. Awe is what drives empathy. Awe is not just a nice feeling, it's feelings of wonder and it's feelings of connection to either the art or the human that created the art. It's also this concern. I think art invites us to really feel a lot of things that we haven't before. Music and TV, there's a lot of things we experience through television, like being a secret agent, or that's why this whole podcast exists, is just to we increase our media literacy with however much we read, all the art and media we intake. We're getting to know different sides of what media and art can be. And it also creates these pro-social emotions when we're looking at different humans putting effort into something that is creative. Their mediation effect was this relationship is with the AI label Empathy goes down for artwork, and so does awe. This is held consistently throughout all studies. So when it was the writing, if it was labeled as AI, people were less impressed, people were less feeling wonder and feelings of awe and emotion and feelings of empathy. All of that is reduced when we see that art is labeled as AI. The effect held across all the different populations. So with every sample size that they got, either it was the museum visitors or the online surveys, regardless, all the sample size reported the same thing: less empathy for the art and less wonder and awestruck from the art, as well as all the different experimental setups. So if it was writing, if it was a painting, if it was videos, if it was seen as AI art, people did not connect to it in the same way. Of course, that is because of the label, but I think that does matter. If it's labeled or if you can tell that it's AI, and if people are just falsely attributing that to human efforts, then maybe, but also it's just diminishing the whole point of art, which is this human effort to put in your heart and soul and let people see this window into your soul. I don't know. I mean, I'm not arguing against AI. I think there's a lot of great things you can use AI for, but I'm kind of arguing against AI. I think it's taking away from the importance of creativity and human art and what we can really bring to the table. We don't want to be seen as lazy, but a lot of people are just using AI for their laziness, which I do think, I mean, let me get on my soapbox for a second, but I do think it's useful. It's arguably, we have access to the most amount of knowledge we've ever had access to, which is amazing. And it's the most efficient tool that we've probably ever seen, and we have access to it all the time. So it's conflicting, but also if people create art using AI, it's definitely different, and you won't see it as very personal, and you won't attach empathy or feelings of empathy to it, which I think is one of the main purposes of art. So I don't know, I'm very conflicted, but I liked that this study was able to show us these results. So why does AI reduce feelings of awe? Why do we feel like there's less human intentionality? Or why do we feel like there's less wonder when it comes to AI art? Even if it's created the same as a human art, why do we just immediately disassociate with empathy, feelings of empathy or wonder? And one of the reasons is the loss of human intentionality. People see human art as expressive and meaningful, and AI art feels very generated and very procedural and not really a feeling type of thing. There's a reduced perceived effort, like I said before. It's seen as lazy, awe is really tied to skill and mastery, and AI is perceived as effortless. And then there's also this breakdown of mind perception. So humans naturally try to infer when we see art, we're trying to figure out what, like when you're watching a movie, you're trying to figure out what the director is saying. You're trying to figure out, when I'm reading a book, what is the author really trying to convey? When I'm looking at a painting, what does it mean? What is the intention behind everything? And with AI art, there's no human mind to connect to. It's just giving you all these different possibilities of what something could be. It's not really, there's no intention behind it like a human intention. And so I think that all of those things diminish AI art just in and of itself. The broader implications is that art has a big role in society. And so the cultural impact that we're feeling is kind of this desensitization to art and to everything, every type of media, because it can be so easily replicated now. AI art may weaken the functions of societal empathy and also building social cohesion. There's also these ethical and philosophical questions like, should AI art always be labeled? Or should we allow the people who programmed the AI to just take full credit and say that they created it? We disclose, I think disclosure of AI art does reveal its value, which is not very much. Especially if you can create it in your own home. And then is authenticity necessary for emotional impact? I argue for yes, but some people could be moved by AI art. Who knows? Gosh, AI art is hard to say. AI art, AI art, AI art. And then what are the practical implications? Are museums and media and entertainment industries just going to start outputting all this AI art and replacing all their human artists? I mean, Disney has already gotten rid of at least 100 animation employees because they have AI. So it's already started. And then there's education and therapy, like human created art might be more effective in empathy building for humans, but we still need, like, there's a very big need for art. I think art is so important in connecting to people, in connecting to yourself, and seeing windows into other people's lives. I think there is a very, very strong case for human art to still be prevalent in society. Sure, AI art is fun and it's easy, but there's nothing like the human intentionality behind what we're creating. And that's why we're all trying to connect. We're all, at the end of the day, longing for a connection. And I do think a lot of times AI can isolate you. And if you're just using it all the time, it's going to just be you and your relationship to AI as opposed to you and your relationship to other people. So some of the limitations of this study was that there wasn't this huge emotional measures. They just had these little emotional scales. This was also a very Western context. So this is a American study with American participants. It wasn't applied to really Eastern samples or like people from Eastern parts of the world. Also, AI is still rapidly changing. So this study was done at the end of 2025. AI could look completely different at the end of this year, 2026. This study is great for right now, but I wonder what it's going to look like in the next year or so. So there's a few different limitations. Also, we should say that the study really manipulates belief, not differences in art quality. I want to say that again. So it's about perception, not the inferiority of AI art. But even the perception is inferior to the perception of human art, which was mainly what the study was trying to say. The key takeaway from this is that the emotional power of art is not just in the artwork itself, but in who we believed created it. AI art doesn't just change creation, it changes interpretation, and that reshapes awe and wonder, empathy, and then social connection to others. I chose this study because I felt like, especially with the second movie, it really connects to what they were trying to say at the very end, that there is a need for the excellence of human creation. Beauty is very important, as was stated in the first movie, but also specifically human created beauty and what we can put our minds to create and bring together other people. The first movie was so iconic and it brought together so many girls and gays. It brought together John Krasinski loves the movie, but also it's just wonderful human expression through clothes, through storytelling, through character building. The first movie was so authentically human. And the second movie is an argument for that. Arguably the strongest character is Miranda Priestley for this case, because she's not this AI generated bitch. She does have these human elements to her that really ground the story. We really don't want her to be fired. We don't want her to be let go, and we don't want her to retire not on her own terms. We want her to be the iconic Miranda Priestley and own it. And we really do care about these characters, but I think it's because they're really human. Sure, she's a bitch, and sure, they all have their flaws, but like, that's what makes us human. And if anything, her showing her softer side was kind of this glimpse and window, like I've been talking about, all into her soul. So her complexity created this awe and wonder that how can a woman do all of this? Well, she's showing us how she can do it. They're also like very upfront with how much her personal life struggled because of her amazing work life. And I like that she owns it. She owns that there's a cost, especially at the end of the movie. She's really owning what she's done in her life, and she's not done yet. The key question for The Devil Wears Prada 2 becomes, does the sequel feel like an expression of human experience or like a corporate product? Miranda Priestley, because she's so human, we are in awe of her. She's like a human myth as opposed to a corporate icon. I mean, she's both. I would say she, like, when gay people wear a suit, they're hoping to give Miranda Priestley. Like, she is definitely a corporate icon. Her power felt earned, though. It doesn't feel like she used AI art to create or she was lazy in her time. It feels very earned where she is right now. Her coldness hinted at this loneliness, and I think because of that loneliness, we can relate to her. There's also this, per the study, this awe that we feel for her expands our perspective. So if someone is really good at something, I do think we get taken aback. We're like, oh wow, they're really good at it. And even though they're kind of a bitch, it gives them more grounds to be. I can give it like Drag Race. Sure, a lot of the girls are so bitchy and mean, but if they're really good at creating outfits and they're really good at dancing or really good at their craft, then it makes a lot of people judge them less because they're so good, even if they have a bad personality. In the sequel, there's a lot of nostalgia beats, which is great. There's a little bit of the exaggerated iconic moments, which is great, and viral one-liners. And so I think there was a little bit of risk with the sequel becoming a brand and becoming this thing that they can sell and more money, as opposed to this authentic storytelling that we got in the first one. But I'm really glad that they stuck to this, where they're like, no, we want to say something again, and we're going to be arguing for humanity in this statement. Really, really liked that. Also, I would say the story really works because we find this empathy anchor in Andy Sachs. I think Anne Hathaway is such a good ingenue type actress and girl next door. She's able to bring like dorky personality to it and also make her feel so human. In the first one, I get frustrated with Andy Sachs a lot because I'm like, girl, just figure out what you want and stop complaining. But also that's her complaining and then she ends up turning it out in the end. Both times that happens. And I think that grounds the movie as well. Like, it brings us back down to earth. It's this fantastical world of fashion, but in this, we have this dorky protagonist that's still trying to fight to do the right thing, regardless of this big, beautiful world around her. And so Andy Sachs as a character really keeps the movie down to earth, and Anne Hathaway is so good at that. She's so good at bringing a big, fantastical film and finding the human aspects of it as well. She really represented this, like, ambition versus identity in both films. And she also is this major external success, but she has this internal conflict the entire time. We didn't just watch her, we really tracked her internal development, which was really, really cool. Where the study and the film interact is that their empathy requires perspective taking and emotional access. If the sequel skipped Andy's struggle, then we wouldn't feel related to her, and I don't think we'd feel this was a good story to be launching. What I also really like about the new movie, that it really does portray fashion more as art. I will say, though, there is a lot less emphasis on the fashion portion in The Devil Wears Prada 2. It's a lot more like a business media perspective as opposed to a fashion perspective. So I think there's going to be a lot of pushback from audiences saying, oh, I wish it was more about fashion, because the first one was more about fashion as an art and fashion, what fashion means to the everyday person and what it can mean to big businesses. And now I think this one is more what fashion means as a media and how it can be portrayed as art from humans. So it's a risk for sure with the sequel, but I think the risk really did pay off. It was a great movie. I really, really enjoyed it. How the movie really does emulate the study is that there is empathy throughout the entire movie, and it's very human-centered. Just like our study is suggesting, I think if they focused more on the generated bits and maybe the surface level intentions with fashion, then The Devil Wears Prada would maybe pack as many punches as it does. But because it's so focused on the humans behind it, I felt like it was a more complete story, dare I say, than the first one. I really do love the first one, though. I think the first one is a certified classic. I think the second one maybe had more to say, which I really, really like as well. The first one is probably funnier, and it's more 2000s-y, definitely a time period piece. And this one is more of like, hey, let's look at how society is reacting to fashion right now, and let's see what we can do to change maybe the narrative. So, very cool. When the stories really start feeling like windows into the human minds is when we're going to lose the plot. And when they stop feeling like windows into human minds, it's going to stop expanding our own minds. The Devil Wears Prada 2 really does challenge our empathy for fashion and our empathy for Miranda Priestly, but also it does expand it as well, which is really awesome. I think this movie feels very authored, and it feels like a full story. And yeah, I'm glad to say that I don't think the writers were using ChatGPT, which all just to encompass the study, it was a really, really great movie and a really great study. I think we don't care just about Miranda Priestly because she's iconic. We care because at some point she feels like a person. And the moment she stops feeling like a person is the moment she's going to stop feeling powerful. So I loved The Devil Wears Prada 2. This is such a great study. Thank you so much to Michael White and Rebecca Ponce De Leon. This is awesome. I'll leave their tags down below. And that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Luke Carpenter, and I am your host. If you want to follow me on any social media platforms, it's at the Carpenter Critique. At all social media platforms except X, I'm Carpenter Critic. And if you want to stream the episode, if you're just strictly a listener, the Carpenter Critique is available to you on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and if you want to watch, on YouTube as well. Thank you so much, everybody, and have a good one. See you next week. Bye!